This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 2096, Why I'll Never Buy a Timeshare by Schroeder-Gardner of MakingSenseOfSense.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. We're going to get right to today's post as we optimize your life. Why I'll Never Buy a Timeshare by Schroeder-Gardner of MakingSenseOfSense.com. Lately, I've been hearing about more and more people buying timeshares. Someone I know recently dropped $15,000 on a timeshare. I know of another person who has bought multiple timeshares with their student loans. I recently read on Facebook that another person is trying to sell their timeshare for $1, and there aren't any takers yet. Sure, I have an open mind, and perhaps sometimes timeshares are an okay idea, so I won't completely discredit them. However, I've never met someone who bought a timeshare and was happy with their purchase years down the line. I've only heard horror stories about timeshares. Due to this, I've never really understood the appeal of timeshares, and I'm not sure I ever will. I'm not writing this post to offend anyone. Like I said, I'm sure there are cases out there where someone found a great deal on a timeshare and they know they're actually going to use it. I won't ignore the possibility of that. However, I know that each and every year, many people buy timeshares thinking they're a great deal, when in reality, most of the time they're not. According to debt.org, there are more than 9 million timeshare owners across the world, and approximately $10 billion in timeshares are sold each year. Also, according to that same website, approximately 7% of US families own a timeshare. I had no idea that the timeshare business was this large. Maybe I'm missing something, but the negatives seem to significantly outweigh the positives. So I'm shocked there are that many timeshare owners out there. Here are 5 reasons not to buy a timeshare. Number 1, the upfront cost is high. Timeshares are expensive. According to the American Resort Development Association, the average price for a 1-week timeshare is approximately $19,000, with an average annual maintenance fee of $660 on top of that. That's a ton of money. On top of the expensive costs, many people end up taking loans out for their timeshares. This means that your timeshare might end up costing 2 or even 3 times the cost over the duration of the loan due to interest. If you're asking the question, are timeshares worth it? Or why are timeshares bad? This section right here should help you find your answer. Number 2, there are maintenance fees. As I said earlier, the average annual maintenance fee on a timeshare is $660, and in many cases, it can be upwards of $1,000 a year. I did some research and I found some timeshares that had an annual maintenance fee of $2,000 a year. Maintenance fees need to be paid year after year, regardless if you use the property or not. Also, the annual maintenance fee tends to increase over time as well, and you have no control over that. Are timeshares worth it in this case? Nope. Number 3, timeshares are hard to sell. If you decide to sell your timeshare because of the high annual cost and/or because you're tired of paying monthly payments on your loan, you'll have a hard time selling it. Timeshares do not appreciate like a normal property would. If you do a quick search on eBay, you'll find hundreds of timeshares going for just $1, which is another reason I'm unsure of them. If they're such a great deal, why are people trying so hard to get rid of them? Are timeshares worth it in this case? Nope. Number 4, you have to pay for the timeshare regardless if you use it or not. Like I said earlier, maintenance fees need to be paid year after year, regardless if you use the property or not. Also, with a timeshare, if you've had a bad income year and don't have the money to take a vacation, you still have to pay the maintenance fees. A lot of your money is tied up in the timeshare and could probably be invested in other better ways. Are timeshares worth it in this case? Nope. And number 5, there are cheaper ways to go on a vacation. Timeshare salespeople try to find buyers by claiming that timeshares are a great way to save money on a vacation. I just don't understand that. Spending $19,000 on a timeshare where you only get around 1 week annually seems very expensive. There are plenty of ways to go on a more affordable vacation. You could shop around for the best prices, use credit card rewards, visit during the off-season, bundle your trip, and more. I'm sure you could spend less on an annual vacation than what it would cost to own a timeshare. Plus, if you're still wanting the timeshare feel, you can rent timeshares from other owners for a fraction of what they've paid. You can usually find them for a couple $100s per week, whereas the owner is still paying the maintenance fees each year that are most likely twice or 3 times as much. Are timeshares worth it in this case? Nope. You just listened to the post titled, "Why I'll Never Buy a Timeshare" by Michelle Schroeder-Gardner of MakingSenseOfSense.com. A timeshare is a great example of a liability disguised as an asset. While timeshare salespeople may represent the opportunity as an investment, I think we can all agree that real estate investors are not buying timeshares. When you buy a timeshare, you don't actually own anything. What you're buying is the right to use a property. You don't have the right to modify that property, rent it out, or even resell it in the same way as you would when you hold the title to a piece of real estate. I thought this article did a good job of explaining why timeshares are such a bad idea. So why do people still buy them? From what I can tell, it's due to the high-pressure sales tactics during a timeshare presentation. They lure you in with a free gift or the like, and basically don't let you leave until you buy a timeshare. Anything worth buying is worth taking time to think about. But any timeshare salesperson knows that if they give you time to think it over, you'll likely not buy in. So they're trained to use every trick in the book to get you to buy that day. While I've never been to a timeshare sales pitch, a couple years ago, I experienced this sales tactic when looking into laser hair removal. One place I looked into wouldn't give me any information over the phone. I was forced to come in for a consultation. And then if I didn't buy that very moment, the price would have doubled the next day. After more research, it was clear these were predatory sales tactics, and the company had a horrible reputation. The service I ended up using was less than half the cost, super straightforward on pricing, and I was invited to go home and think about my options. And that will do it for today. Have a great rest of your day and start to your weekend if you're listening in real time. I'll be back here over the weekend where your optimal life awaits.